Hello, everyone, and you're very welcome to the Football Lounge. What you haven't seen in the background is I had a technical breakdown because I couldn't get the intros to work right, but you are very welcome to the Football Lounge. I am just briefly keeping my camera on. I do have some technical issues with it, so I just wanted to wish you a very holly jolly Jaffa Christmas. And I can see the two boys shaking their heads, kind of going, "What are you doing, Rebel?" But lads, I just want to welcome Colm and Ross as I dip my camera off. Say hello to our wonderful viewers, lads. You're muted there, lads.
I know. First thing I want to say is it isn't Christmas yet. You know, we're still in November. Christmas doesn't happen until after my birthday in my household. But I am doing well. Obviously, we've got a big story to talk about. Can't wait to get involved in that. Hope you and Ross are well, my friend.
All good here, all good to be back. Pretty excited. Some World Cup fevers definitely hit me. And getting the Christmas spirit, Colin. It's November, which is December Junior. It's coming. And you know what else is coming? The World Cup. It's coming home.
No, my birthday is December the 11th, right? And I'm fed up of Christmas taking over it.
Just to give you a score update, Giroud has just got a second for France, just to interject.
Yay.
But speaking of World Cups, and he's a man that has rivaled the main topic of today's show, which is Cristiano Ronaldo, and that is the fortunes of one Lionel Messi and Argentina. I just want to briefly touch on this. We'll give it about 5 minutes. Just thinking about the way that they've started. Obviously, they opted to keep Licha El Butcher off the starting 11, which essentially looks like it's been a mistake now because Otamendi looked like he's been off the pace in terms of the way that he's played. But sitting there, if you're Lionel Messi, you know this is your last World Cup. There isn't going to be another one for you in 4 years' time. How much of an uphill battle at this stage is it for Argentina? Now, obviously, 2 wins still gets them out of group, but has it shown a weakness?
Of course it has. I mean, it weren't so long ago that we were doing a show on the World Cup, you know, who we thought was going to go where and do what. If I quite distinctly remember, quite a few people were saying Argentina were going to go to the final. I wasn't one of them people because I knew Argentina wouldn't do anything, they'd struggle. And if Lionel Messi isn't performing, then Argentina don't perform. I mean, yeah, okay, he's got a goal, but it was from a penalty that was saved, I believe, and he hit the rebound in. And after that, they didn't even do anything. They didn't even look like they were going to threaten, really, to be honest with you. I mean, they had a couple of offsides and whatnot, but they're just not good enough.
Yeah. Ross, what are your feelings on what was one of the superpowers of international football? Obviously, Brazil are looking at it kind of going, okay, let's not make the same mistakes. But do you think Argentina can write off their chances at this point?
No, not at all. This is the beauty of the World Cup. It's only the first game. No. We're getting ahead of ourselves here, lads. Think about how many other teams have gone on to win the World Cup and they've also lost their opening games. A country that comes to mind is Spain in 2010. They lost their opening game to Switzerland 1-0. So anything can happen. And I mean, the countries and the players that represent their countries all have high quality. That's why they're there. I think you'll find it hard to see any team take all 9 points, win all 3 games for the 9 points from the group stages. It's going to be really tight, and I think this is just a wake up call for Argentina and Lionel Messi.
Well, let's just throw one stat out there. And this is where we'll wrap up the Messi talk and we get into the second of Ronaldo. Ireland, in their last visit to a World Cup, were in a group with the very same Saudi Arabia. And in that group, they were beaten 8-0 by Germany. I think it was 5-0 by Cameroon and 3-0 by Ireland. And you would say, surely, that Argentina, even as they are, were at a higher degree of technical and physical ability than Ireland in terms of football. Is it that Saudi Arabia have improved so much, or did they just underestimate their foes?
No, the only thing I'm taking from that is that the Irish national side is better than the Argentinian one, and I'm happy to back that, seeing as though I am of Irish heritage myself. I can see Ross shaking his head with me there. No, I think it was a massive underestimation by Argentina. I've really got to say it was. They came out before that whistle was even blown and was already thinking, well, it's 3 points. So, you know.
Yes, indeed. And I suppose, Ross, do you want to make any final points on that? And then we'll move on to Ronaldo.
Yeah, of course. Just quickly, I think we have to give credits where credits is due. And Saudi Arabia played out of their skins. And sometimes the occasion does this to players. Um, did Argentina underestimate Saudi Arabia? Possibly, but Saudi Arabia were really, really good. I mean, they came out, they were aggressive, they challenged for the first balls, the second balls, and they constantly pressed Argentina. And I don't think they were used to a team taking the game to them, especially being underdogs. So fair play to them, they deserve the result.
Yes, indeed. And as Colin takes a sip of our one of our sponsors, Rate, the energy drink experts, it does remind me that I do need to do some housekeeping, and that is to mention that we are, of course, sponsored by GMS. And if you have any architectural survey needs, particularly in the field of topographical surveys and lots of other good stuff, be sure to check out the link that is in the description that would take you direct to their website. And Colin, do you want to briefly mention that wonderful product that you were just displaying?
Yes, I will. So here we go. The wonderful product is Rafe, and we are officially partnered by them. Thank you so much to Rafe getting involved in the channel. So basically, what is Rafe? It's a water-based energy drink. It's a lot healthier than the generic energy drink cans. It's clean, zero sugar, antioxidant rich formula is designed to give you the edge in anything that you're doing, especially gaming, which is what I tend to use it for quite a bit. And the best thing about it is, if you want to order some Rafe, use the code right there, FTSN22, and you will get a 10% discount on your order. And the best thing about Rafe as well is they ship worldwide. So thank you so much to Rafe.
Yes, indeed. And actually, I'm just going to detract. I did say we were going to Ronaldo next, but the silver one, Tony Fox. If you do have a link to some of that information, please do drop it in the group in the WhatsApp group for us, because we would like to get into that maybe towards the back end of the conversation. This would be very much breaking news if the Glazers have indeed issued a statement that they are opening to sell Manchester United. Now, obviously, our views, Colin, are prejudiced, and we do want certain family out of club. But let's do have a quick discussion on it at the end of the show. If you could share the source on that silver one, that would be much appreciated. But CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo, he came to us as a youngster. He had a fantastic first term, and he then departed for a 5-time Champions League winning stint with Real Madrid. Obviously, his football achievements will never be questioned at Manchester United and elsewhere. They will always be absolutely incredible. However, what will fall into question is the way that this is all ended. Now, we will come to the statement from the club there shortly, but Manchester United have a tendency to deal with people that break rank. We saw it with Yapstam, we saw it with Roy Keane, and we saw it with countless others throughout their time with the club. And you have to question, when you look at the interview, and obviously we spoke about that on the channel last week, and we won't go over old ground, but it did seem that he was talking about a lot of well-known issues. They had been previously aired by Ralph Rangnick after he was scuttered out of the club in summer, and obviously the leaks of the previous 2 seasons, a lot of this stuff would have been coming out in the wash. So if you are going to go out and do something for whatever reason that you're going to do it, surely you're going to come up with something more spectacular, something unknown. Is this like, could it be said that the ending that we're now going to be talking about, that he was basically trying to justify it by making a media interview so that he could walk away with his ego held intact, that he was pushed out because of what he said, rather than just realizing it's not working and walking away in January?
I'll let Ross start. Go on, Ross.
Yeah, I feel for the Man United fans the most in this situation because at the end of it, you guys have to continue seeing Man United break new grounds of low. And I remember when Ronaldo first, or when he came back to the club, there was a huge uproar of euphoria and hope. And it's the hope that kills you. And the way the situation panned out is very unnecessary. A lot of this could have been solved behind closed doors, but clearly between Ronaldo's ego and his demands and the Glazers' unwillingness and uh, relentlessness to try and to resolve certain situations, it's led to this situation. And it's only compounded by the fact that they had that interview. And I watched that, and my first thought about it was Ronaldo's very, very brave to come out and speak against his employer. And I put myself in his shoes and I thought about different situations and how he could have handled it better. He has apologized to the Man United fans on leaving the ground twice, I think it was, and refusing to come on as a sub. But to his explanation is because he's had a fallout with Eric Ten Hag and the board, and he's just sees the club as rotting, and he's trying to make it better, but clearly it wasn't going to become better. So he felt there was no other option because all of his complaints are falling on deaf ears, that he had to come to the media and speak. Piers Morgan, I would have thought there would be a lot of other better and more neutral hosts to speak to than Piers Morgan, but alas, this is the situation we're in, and it's definitely sad. It's sad how it's ended, but it just adds to the anger that I think a lot of the Man United fans feel on how the Glazers are running this club, because all of this could have been avoided from the start.
I just want to add some breaking commentary that's after being posted by Miguel Delaney. He's told that Manchester United are unlikely to have given any fiscal compensation to Ronaldo, as there was a realization at the top of the club that the team were better off without him at this juncture. Now, obviously, in terms of a footballing sense, they are going to be weaker. I think everybody's going to accept that Ronaldo, even in the way he was, has something to offer in terms of a tactical change and a different look to test defenses with. But obviously, if a player is at a period of unrest, it is probably better to reach a compromise. And that appears to be the case of what happened today, Colum. And we're just going to bring up the club statement. Cristiano Ronaldo is to leave Manchester United by mutual agreement with immediate effect. So they done it right smack dab before they kicked the ball in anger in the World Cup. The club thanks him for his immense contribution across his two spells, where he scored 145 goals in 346 appearances for the club, and they wish him and his family all the best for the future. And of course, we did see CR700 while he was here with us this season. Colum, your thoughts?
Look, I mean, I'm a Ronaldo fan. Everybody knows I'm a Ronaldo fan. I meant it very, very clear. I'm so happy he came back because he did so much for the club, especially the first season that he came back. He did so much. He was a top goal scorer. And I actually loved it. This season, okay, he's not been as great. I've had issues with him. I will always support him. Even now, I will still support him. I will wish him all the best wherever he's going to go. It's a massive shame that he is going because the way it's gone really. I would have liked him to go in a different kind of light, but I mean, if we're going back to what Ross was saying as well, I mean, the interview was there to basically get him out of the club. That's what the interview was for. He didn't want to be there anymore. So I loads of respect for Ronaldo. Thank you so much for throwing the Glazers under the bus as well in that interview. But I wish you the best.
Indeed. Looking at it as well, we do have another graphic here just to kind of tease into Ross, and just come up here. Following talks, that just reiterating that they've ended their agreement. I think this is from the Ronaldo side, and he says he loves Manchester United and loves the fans, and that will never change. It feels like the right time to seek a new challenge. So Ross, this is where I'm going to ask you, what next for Ronaldo? Where does he go? Does a team take a punt on him for 6 months to try and make it a difference maker to push for Champions League? Could we finally see him play next to Lionel Messi at Paris Saint-Germain?
Yeah, it's a tough one whenever you start predicting the next moves for a legend. Look, the biggest obstacle is always going to be his wages. If he wants to continue on the same type of wages he's on, he's going to have to go to the Middle East. That's just a fact. If he wants to continue playing at a high level and try and integrate with another squad, he has no choice but to take a pay cut, whether that's to go back to Real Madrid on a temporary basis, because I know Karim Benzema is injured. I don't know to what extent it is, but it might be a lengthy one. Other than that, you look at the Champions League clubs, a lot of them either don't have the financial resources to sign a player like Ronaldo, or they just don't fit their style of play. So it is a bit tricky. I think his future will obviously be decided after the World Cup. PSG playing alongside Lionel Messi, that's a bit of a complicated one because Messi's contract is also going to be up at the end of the season, and who knows where he's going to be heading to. So you don't want a situation where Ronaldo goes to PSG and then Messi leaves to go somewhere else, which is always a possibility. Right now, I think the best move for Ronaldo is to start winding down his career and going to like the MLS. That's if he still wants to play. He is 38 years old, 39 next year. He's had a magnificent career, and I won't even be surprised if he starts to call time on his career after the World Cup.
Well, I suppose in terms of this season, it like any team that has aspirations possibly to make a difference in terms of maybe shifting the balance towards win Champions League. If they are like a 6-month deal, probably would be worth the punt before he does take an MLS or, as you say, one of the Saudi region clubs where he would obviously get that major payday. But kind of looking at it pragmatically, then that does leave a void in the Manchester United squad. And before we come on to the big breaking news that apparently Manchester United is up for sale according to Sky Sports, what kind of statement now needs to be made by Manchester United to show support for their manager? Because clearly he's without yet another offensive option in something that was already paper thin. Do they have to categorically go out there and spend money in January? Now, more than likely we won't get all the necessary reinforcements for that position, but one does seem necessary, and the name that's been mentioned today is Tammy Abraham. I just want to get your quick thoughts on the prospect of Tammy Abraham leading the line for Manchester United to fill the boots of what was the legendary goal machine that was Cristiano Ronaldo. Is this something that appeals to you? And if he doesn't appeal to you, do you think he could fit in a Ten Hag system? So I'm going to get you to come at it from both angles, if you don't mind.
I don't want Tammy Abraham anywhere near Man United. I really don't. I don't think he's the kind of striker United need. We've gone to a system now of Ten Hag where we've seen very quick counter-attacking football. Tammy Abraham isn't really that kind of player. We've seen him play in the Premier League and he wasn't very good. So I don't understand why we would even go for a player like that. We need to be going for somebody. We need to be going for somebody like a Martinez, a big name, big statement signing, and possibly go and get another one. you got to think before even Ronaldo left, we needed another striker or an attacker in January anyway. So now we need two. Ronaldo's gone, so we need two now. So one of them has to be a statement signing. I know there's people. I've spoke to people, and they're saying, Mbappe's and Lewandowski's and all these kind of players. It's like, okay, yeah, it's all well and good saying these names, but let's actually be realistic. If we're going to go and get Tammy Abraham, I think that's a massive waste of money. We should be looking closer to home, really, if I'm going to be honest with you. Go get even Tony. If you're going to go waste money on Abraham, then go get Tony, because he's a better player and he will adapt to a Ten Hag system.
I have to agree with you. I do like Ivan Toney as a player. I do think he fits the system. And I'm going to ask this of Ross. Given, obviously, the situation with the charges that have been levied against him for his betting activity, do you think that could convince Brentford to maybe sell now rather than trying to eat the time that he might be banned? And also, I'm going to come back to Colm after then as well. Given that he might lose maybe 4 or 5 games of a ban, does that impact United going after him in the January window?
No, you can call me ignorant, but I think all those charges are irrelevant on football grounds. I mean, it doesn't affect the quality of players. He just got caught up in some bad business, and whether that's on him or his representatives, that's not for me to speculate. But I don't think it should affect his market value too much. He's still a quality player, and it was such a shame that he wasn't called up for the England squad. And I think because of that, those accusations is probably the reason why he wasn't. He's so good, he's so lethal, and he's quick, and he allows for teams like Brentford to have an outlet after they've absorbed so much pressure, and he can just chase down the loose balls and run into the channel. So I think Tony will be great value if you are able to get him. He's still very young, and he's had an unconventional route to the Premier League. He was released from Newcastle as a youngster. He played for Peterborough, and then obviously at Brentford as well. So he's climbed up the leagues, which means that it shows that he's got a strong character, a strong mentality. And that's what you want from a striker, somebody that's fearless and knows how to get the job done. Almost like very similar to Jamie Vardy. And you want that while he's still in his prime. So your hardest part of getting that deal done is trying to convince Brentford to let him go. Unless you pay a hell of a lot of money, I don't see him moving anywhere.
Very interesting viewpoint. And I suppose what I was kind of looking at in terms of the value, I suppose, in a club with the size of Brentford, where they're very much dependent on all their resources. If he did get a lengthy ban, obviously money in the pocket in January for them means that they can go out and get someone in to possibly contribute at least some of the goals that Ivan Toney would have delivered, and not have to eat the period of time where he was out with a ban. Whereas Manchester United then could be kind of looking at him, okay, we still need someone in the rotation. We are looking for him to be the main man. However, if he was to miss 4 or 5 games, it's not going to be the end of the world, and he's still going to be on our books at the other side of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if Brentford decide, that this whole thing with him and the allegations and everything against him is going to decrease his value, crack on, decrease his value. Man United will save some money there. And we know what the Glazers are like. They're all about saving money. But, I mean, even if we have to spend money, we've literally just started saving £500,000 a week now that Ronaldo's gone. So we've got that money spare now for Tony, if we look at it that way. I mean, is it an issue if he gets a couple of games banned and United have to do without for a little bit? No, not really. You've got Martial, who can play through middle, Rashford, who can play through middle. I know, like, Bruno's played as a false, 9 and all this kind of stuff. So we're adaptable. So we're going to be okay for the time where if he does get a suspension, that we don't have him. But it's going to be what happens after that suspension when he hits the ground running and starts scoring goals. And we're just going to be basically looking at everybody going, well, we've took the chance. Because you got to think, in that suspension time as well, he's going to be fully fit. He's going to come back fully fit. as well, because he's not been playing any football. He'll be doing training. Let's say it's 4 or 5 games. That's what, 4 weeks, let's say. 4 weeks of learning Ten Hag's system and not actually having to play a match, just learning the system in the training. That's priceless for a striker like Tony.
Absolutely. And I think the figure that they said that's saved in inverted commas by Manchester United from the Ronaldo termination of the contract is 16 million euros. So about 14 million of your UK pounds, as you would say. But that does bring us to the surprise topic that has literally started creeping out on news reports. And that is Sky Sports have reported that Manchester United is up for sale. And do we have a graphic, Colin?
We do have a graphic.
So we just get that banner out of the way. Manchester United Football Club could finally be sold by its American owners after 17 years reign dominated by fan protests and declining on-pitch performance. Some would say, I think in that fan group, that it was a reign of terror and that Darth Vader was Mr. Ed Woodward, but we shall see. There, Sky Sports can exclusively reveal that the Glacier family is preparing to formally announce its intention to examine potential sources of outside investment that could include a full-blown auction of arguably the world's most famous football club. Sources said on Tuesday that investment bankers are being instructed by Manchester United owners to advise on the process, which is likely to include a full or partial sale or strategic partnership with third parties. A statement confirming their intentions will come imminently, one of them has said. Now, we have heard from the talks of Liverpool, obviously, possibly being up for sale, that there are some Qatari investors that are floating around looking for a Premier League club. And obviously, some fan groups have kind of voiced concerns over that. But Manchester United Football Club, even in the dire state of disrepair the fixed assets are in at the moment, aka Old Trafford and Carrington, is obviously still a rather attractive looking club for someone who has an interest, I suppose, in owning Manchester United rather than clearly just making a profit of it. Like Newcastle's owners are probably not in it for to make money, at least not in the short term. Maybe in the long term, once the thing is generating big funds, they might change their tune. But in the short term, it is something of a status symbol. And if you're a very wealthy individual that's in the company of other wealthy individuals that owns football clubs, I'd imagine then it could get rather competitive between their social demographics. First of all, I'm going to go to the neutral party, and that is the Aston Villa fan, Ross. Obviously, they mentioned third-party investments or partial sales. Is that a bit of a red flag for any fan group when they talk about a kind of gaslight sale or Black Friday sale, as will be coming up shortly, of partial assets?
No, I don't think so. As long as there's good structure in place and the communication lines are clear and everybody is on board with the goal and ambition of the club, then everything should run smoothly. It's all about making sure that everybody shares the same ideology when it comes to a football club. Because the danger is if you have a partial sale and you have multiple members owning a football club and being a part of a board, some might see different directions of how they want the club to go. And they're entitled to their say and their opinion because they paid for it. They paid for their shares and they paid to be at that seat of the table. I think in Man United's case, your main priority is to get the Glazers out, whether that's a full sale, a partial sale, or even if a fan consortium group of the Man United fans get together to try and buy out some of the shares. I think that's the way to go. But as long as you have owners that are, I wouldn't even call ambitious, I'd say at least headstrong and know that they need to start changing the way United are to have a better future, then that's what you should be aiming for.
Colin, I'm going to come to you next. And there are some rival fan groups that say, despite spending £1 billion in 10 years of transfers, that Manchester United are not financially able to compete anymore, that they compete in ways that generate them more commercial income, but not on football field. We obviously know that the redevelopment of Old Trafford is going to cost a significant capital investment, as is any proposed alteration to Carrington. Are are United as a club under financial pressure, and is this something that maybe is leading to having to let the club move on, because they are now saying that they are needing to make investment in order to continue the lifestyle that they had of pulling out dividend year in, year out, because Manchester United's commercial entity is pretty much dependent on football success. They have to be in the star competitions.
Well, it is. I mean, the Glazers can't afford to run United anymore. United has been running on its own generated income. Yes, okay, we spent £1 billion on transfers, but do you know what we might as well have done with that money? We might as well have gone down to the closest bonfire and just threw it on top of there, because the money that's being spent has been absolutely wasted. Manchester United, yeah, okay, United need to be owned by a billionaire. It needs to be owned by a billionaire, because there's so much that needs doing. The ground needs fixing, the training ground needs fixing, the squad needs fixing. In order for United to get back to where they have been before, another 2, 3, 4 billion pounds has to be spent on the squad and the training systems and everything else on top of that. So, I mean, good riddance. I hope they go. I can't stand the Glazers. I hope they go, because they have run Manchester United into the ground, and they will keep doing it and keep doing it. And they don't care about Man United. All they care about is merchandise sales and filling their pockets.
Yeah, very strong words there. And obviously, we had looked at, I suppose, the inexperience of the board level appointees that were responsible for transfers, and we have talked over the last year or two, of some of the crazy contracts that were organised for certain playing personnel, and how they weren't recompensed with the squad status of said player. I think at one point we had a £375,000 a week keeper sitting on bench, which, to be fair, is absolutely balmy. Like,
You're saying this, but we had a £500,000 player sat on the bench this season.
this is true. The now departed Cristiano Ronaldo was £5,000 a week, and I think one of his appearances was 4 minutes against Liverpool.
That's what I mean. Like I said, we might as well take this money that we're spending and go throw it on a bonfire, because that's what basically we're doing with it.
I suppose for the first time in a long time, now obviously it was a scratch in the surface this year's transfer window, but there was actually players that you could see that addressed some of the long-term needs of Manchester United. Obviously, the butcher, he was a big signing, even though he was doubted. Anthony, once he gets his feet going, I think he's going to be absolutely unplayable. But obviously, the Brazilian players that have come into Premier League this year, they all have a certain swagger and appeal in terms of the way that they go about their football. So it's hardly surprising that Anthony is going to shoot out the lights once he gets going. Ericsson was a very clever signing and looks like an excellent piece of business at this point. And then the aforementioned Casemiro. I think any Manchester United fan in his wildest dreams would not have believed that we actually signed a defensive midfielder for a defensive midfield position. Like, that was how beleaguered our world had become, that signing somebody for the position that they're intended to play actually occurred. Do you think, though, that if this story starts kind of gathering momentum and wheels as this World Cup continues, that it could actually serve as a distraction in January, or in the 27th of December, actually, when competition resumes for United at club level?
No, I don't. I think if this, and I want to hear Ross's opinion as well on this, my statement that I'm going to make right now. If this is real, if this is real, then Man United fans, Rebel, including myself as well, any United fan that's watching this, United are not buying anybody in January.
Yeah,
That's
I've been sorry there, Rebel. I've been quiet just so I can observe and listen to your passionate speeches there, guys. Obviously, you love the club, both of you do. And it's interesting just to hear your side and how you feel, because that's what it's about as a fan, feeling and also enduring these hard times. And you guys have endured a hell of a long time. I have to agree that I don't think United will sign anybody on a permanent deal in January. If you look at the past transfer windows, you signed Igalo, a striker that you guys also you were I think that was what 2 3 years ago. You were short on strike force options, so you got him on a loan deal. And I think you could end up going down the same route where you look at players that are available to sign on loan rather than a permanent deal, especially now, considering that the Glazers are willing to sell. So if you think that they're going to be pumping money back into the club, especially now, you got another thing coming. I think they're going to be looking to try and do as little deals as possible.
I'm
Oh
going to
God.
counter that and say, right, the other thing though that they'll want to do, because obviously this isn't their money, that if there's money being spent in January, it's not coming out of the Glacier pocket, number one. So if they do target a signing that could possibly have been looked at in the summer anyway, and they manage to get it across the line, that is another asset that adds to the value of Manchester United Inc. And the price per share that possibly they might be able to realise might go up with that bearing in mind. So surely if there's money in the books down the back of the couch or wherever, and 16 million of it is just after being freed up today, that by adding another piece to the jigsaw, that all it's doing for them is giving them an extra maybe 100, 200, 300 million in the sale price.
No, I
It's,
don't think so. I don't think so. Sorry, they call.
it's
I
all
need
right.
to
It's all
say
right.
this part. Um, I think that United are too much in depth and they've used a lot of leverage funds to make a lot of the existing signings. So even if, in the case that they do make a big money signing to add to the assets column of the Manchester United funds and financials, it's still going to get offset by the amount of debt the club owe. And I think that's a lot of things that a lot of neutral fans don't look at. And you guys might be more in tune with this. But United have got a lot of outstanding loans and they are in debt, especially because they haven't been participating regularly in the Champions League. So
In,
I'm not too sure how much leverage they still got left.
Interestingly, those loans weren't actually even belonging to the club in the first place. They were the purchase price of the club that was reimagined into the club by some creative accounting, which we won't go into today because we won't cast any slanderous aspersions in the direction of a departed individual that ran United into the ground for 10 years. But I'm not bitter about that at all.
No, not
But
at all. I just want to say as well, obviously, sorry for jumping in. I just want to say it's interesting that we're going on about shares and whatnot at Manchester United, and the club adding to it to boost up their shares. This announcement that the Glazers are willing to sell Manchester United now and are actively looking, has actually made United's share price go up by 17%, which means that they have already added £400 million onto the market value.
well, that tells you everything, really. Timing is key, and it would seem that this Ronaldo kind of terminated contract, all this stuff is. You'd even think that it was actually predisposed that everything was going to happen in a sequence, wouldn't you? The way that it's been so methodically kind of patted out. But Manchester United fans are obviously a bit cautious. We had this carrot of we're up for sale dangled in front of us before and ultimately laid in a pit of disappointment when nothing has occurred. I just want to say hello to Gonzaga Sesunaga, and I apologize if I butchered the pronunciation of that. You're very welcome here to the lounge. Please do grab a recliner and make yourself comfortable. But I suppose Cullum and Ross, do you realistically see a suitor coming on board? Obviously, one of them is more than likely not going to come back in, and that is Jim Radcliffe, unless he's now going to be encouraged by this latest development. We'll have to keep an eye on that. How likely is it, though, that it's going to be a major superpower in the Arab nation that could be the most likely to take it on, given the scale of capital investment that would be required afterwards to clear loan and start development projects?
Look, I mean, I don't want the Glazers. I don't want I don't want an American owner at all. I want away from the Americans. So if you look at that and you take them out of it, and obviously our Lord and Savior Sir Jim won't be coming back into it. You know, he's been told that by the Glazers they're not going to sell to him. They refuse to do business with him, so he's out. So then you're going to be looking, you know, at Dubai princes and all these kind of people, because they're the only people that can afford Manchester United now. You know, what is it they're asking for? What were it they're asking for? 3.5 billion or 4 point something billion or something like that to buy the club. Nobody really has that kind of money, you know. So it will be somebody from, you know, Dubai or something like that anyway to come in and buy the club. But I don't know. If this is just a ploy from the Glazers to raise their shares again, because they've done it before and it happened, the shares went up. They're doing it again, the shares have gone up. And if it is that, then this Glazer out movement needs to rally up once more and force them to sell.
Now, I want to come in just briefly and make a point that on there about them falsely advertising the club for sale. New York Stock Exchange rules are quite clear in terms of any rumors surrounding the sale of a company that is on their register. If there isn't a clear intention to issue sale of club, the owners of club have to make it known that and deny it publicly as not to profit from artificial trading, essentially. So they do need to make a clear statement, because I'd imagine, as bad as the bark of the United fans is, Wall Street and stuff of that nature is probably something that's a lot closer to home for the Glazers. But on the price point, Colin, I think you raised a very interesting point, and this is what I'm going to throw to Ross to kind of close out the show with. 3.5 million upfront, another 700 million odd to clear loan to bring us back into being able to be self-sufficient in terms of our incomes. Then on top of that, probably in the region of £1 billion between stadium redevelopment and training ground redevelopment. So you're looking at somewhere in the region of £5 billion before an iota is spent on playing personnel. So clearly the person that comes in isn't going to be doing it with the thought of getting their £5 billion back out of the club.
No, and before I answer that question, sorry that I'm animated here on the sidelines for everybody that's watching. I'm just super engrossed in this France versus Australia game. It's popping off here, lads. But in terms of the stocks and the Man United sale, I don't think it will be one person particularly. I think it will be a party or consortium of buyers. I see that might be the only logical way to sell an asset and a company, if you will, of Manchester United's status. As you said, it's more than just pumping money to buy the shares from the Glazers and whoever else and actually own Manchester United. It's about putting in money to redevelop the infrastructure of the club. It's about putting money in to get new signings. It's about trying to lay a development plan for the 5 years that they'll come into play once they officially own the club. So there's a lot of money and underlying costs that come with it. I just don't see one person having that amount of money to put into the club. And yes, it's going to be a long-term project. Manchester United is right now it's a burnt phoenix, and the person that comes in, or the party that comes in to buy the club, will have to rise this phoenix from the ashes, and it will be a long-term project, exactly like how Liverpool were before FSG, and they just need to try and stick with that plan. I think the only question that's left for us now really to answer and look forward to is, will it be a state-owned company, maybe Dubai? Uh, I know that they have their eyes open for a club as well. Uh, could it be could it be a group of bankers, or even, as I pointed out earlier, a fan consortium-led group that wants to start to make Manchester United back at the sense of fans' interests, which always could be a possibility. I think that's going to be the biggest question in this waiting game.
Well,
Interestingly, you meant
Rebel, you're the host. I want to ask you a question. So we're discussing this Manchester United sale, yeah? This has come from Mark Kleinman, who's part of Sky Sports. You know, he's released this. Laurie Whitwell has just tweeted, United not commenting on this story. So United were refusing to release a comment on the exclusive from Sky Sports that Manchester United owners are willing to sell.
well, you know what they say about no news being kind of an indication of some truth being there. Again, going back to what I said about the rules of New York Stock Exchange, the fact that they're remaining silent is possibly an indictment that not only is it up for sale, but possibly they've had a few flutterings of interest and maybe even an offer that might have piqued said interest. And they are not going to blow that by getting involved in the media circus. Um, Laurie Whitwell is someone that I do take a lot of stock in the comments of. He's a very good journalist. And I think silence nearly sometimes is more of a loud scream of approval than any words could possibly paint. And I just wanted to kind of briefly make a comment on Ross's statement about people that wouldn't be rich. There wouldn't be rich enough people to take on that. Just bear in mind, Elon Musk is worth $201 billion. Bernard Arnold is worth $138 billion. There's an Indian gentleman that's the Adani Group, 125 billion. So there's Jeff Bezos, 126 billion. So there's quite a lot of super rich individuals, and that is before you even consider the possibility of a bunch of the Arab nation maybe saying, do you know what? Now 2 or 3 of us are going to come together, and we're going to pitch in £1 billion each into this thing, just to get ownership of the club and be part of the football elite. So I think it sounds like this thing is credible. My hopes and dreams of being free of the tyranny of the Glazers obviously override maybe some of my logic, but the fact that there's silence, that to me is a small element of hope that we might soon be free. Now, Colum, I do want to come to you with exclusive news of our giveaway.
Yes. Yes, we have a giveaway. But before I do that, you'll hear it here first. Full Time Sports Network have had a little bit of information, and we have found out that it is Ross who is buying Manchester United. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. We all know Ross is a secret multi-trillionaire. Oh, sorry. I gave it away. To go into the giveaway, here we are. It's a very, very simple giveaway, and it is open to everybody. All you have to do to win your team's shirt is talk to us in the live chat, or talk to us after the show in the chats, in the comments section below. Obviously, we will try and talk back to as many people as we possibly can do. Follow our Twitter page as well, Full Time Sports Network on Twitter, and we will be getting in contact with the lucky winner and sending you out your football team shirt on us.
Absolutely fantastic option there. And I wonder, will anybody be looking for a new Ronaldo shirt? That is the main question, because it will be around the time that a new club will be identified. But a small bit of breaking news as we wrap up. Obviously, there's a small wee match between England and some Welsh people on next Tuesday. So the lounge won't be here on Tuesday as normal. We may look at bringing this in either Wednesday or Thursday. I must talk with my esteemed panelists to see their availability. But I will be asking Ross some tough questions. Obviously, he's got a new manager at Villa, and there is a quite large squad there, and he's assessing some of those players, many of which were assembled by Steven Gerrard in summer. Are some of these players' places under doubt at the moment? Is there a new lease of life for others that were previously forgotten about? And is Tyrone Mings worse than Harry Maguire? They'll be some of the tough questions that will be coming to fruition. And I do want again once more to thank our wonderful sponsors, and that is GMS Architectural Surveys, whose link is in our description, and the fantastic Wraith Energy Solutions drink that is keeping us all awake during this show. And be sure that if you are making an order, to put in the code FTSN22, I believe. Is that right, Colin?
Yep, that is correct.
But for tonight, I do want to ask you one last question. Are Manchester United going to announce a sale within the next 12 months? And who is going to be the new number 7?
No. And the new number 7 is going to be Benzema.
Benzema.
No, that's not happening.
I can dream, okay?
No,
Too much great energy drinks for you.
hear me out here. Jadon Sancho has coveted the number 7 shirt. Anthony Martial has coveted the number 7 shirt. Anthony may prove at some point that he's worthy of the number 7 shirt.
I know who's the number 7 shirt. I know who is the number 7 shirt. Not yet. Not yet. But the number 7 shirt is going to our very, very good, young, prolific winger.
Garnacho.
Garnacho. That would be an interesting one. Garnacho wearing the fabled United shirt that was made famous by David Beckham, best amongst others. But that's, as there are 7 now viewing, that's where we need to say, a bit like the Saudi Arabian fans did to Argentina fans today, sue out.